and for myself as well. Sabbatismo, 7th-day Sabbath keeping, remains for the people of God as a symbolism of the grace and the faith and the spiritual rest that we have in Jesus on a daily basis. And then number 4, 7th-day Sabbath keeping will continue to be nominated on the new earth made new. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Looking forward to hearing Alvin's presentation. God bless you.
All right, that's time. That concludes the first presentation of the affirmative for Brother Edwin Cotto of the SDA. Again, for those who are new right now, you're watching live here at Debaters Convention, and here also in here in YouTube, RA Fundus Apologetics. We are also live. So we are witnessing a live debate or discussion, friendly discussion, formal discussion between Roman Catholics and our brothers, 7th-day Adventists, for the theme about the Sabbath or the Saturday, that it is still normative for Christians. So right now, again, we ask you to participate in our debate. You can pose your questions. And then later on, after the open forum, we'll be having an open forum to questions. Please address your questions to whoever you want to ask, Brother Alvin or Brother Edwin. They will be having, I think, 1 minute to answer every question from the audience. All right, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we will be having a cross-examination for 10 minutes. So the negative will be cross-examining Brother Edwin Cotto, but I would like to inform also everyone that they have the rule. We have rules here that we agreed upon. So let's just follow your rules, okay? So right now we will have 10 minutes. Let me just set my time here. 10 minutes cross-examination for Brother Alvin. And again, reminders that the examinee will have 1 minute to answer every questions. All right. So our Brother Alvin, are you ready?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, Brother, I'm already ready.
The moment you speak, your time starts.
Okay. My first question, Brother Edwin, Elder Edwin Cotto of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, is very plain, simple, and categorical. I have noticed in your presentation that you have used church fathers when the church fathers would defend your position. And actually you also claimed first, before your presentation earlier, that if the church fathers would prove Sunday keeping, it is not the word of God, you would not accept it. My question is, are you making now a double standard judgment, Brother Edwin Cotto, Elder Cotto? Yes or no?
No.
Answer the question, then explain.
No. I'm not making a double standard. We're very clear. We're using the Bible as the only reference to prove doctrine. But we were clear on our agreement that if we mention church fathers, you mention Ellen White, you can mention references outside the Bible, that's okay because that can add weight. But I only referenced it to prove that they're not trustworthy, actually. So it's quite the opposite. I referenced it to prove they're not trustworthy and why we shouldn't use them as proof of the Bible. That's why I referenced them. I didn't reference them to prove the Bible, to prove the Sabbath. I referenced them to prove why we shouldn't use them to prove the Sabbath.
Okay, next question. Elder Cotto, you mean that you just use that church father to prove that it is unreliable? So why is it that you have used it to prove Saturday in your PowerPoint presentation when you told us now earlier that it is unreliable? So that means it does not prove anything from your point to prove the church father coping on Saturday Sabbath. Yes or no?
Okay, so we have a misunderstanding. I said that we're going to use the Bible to prove the doctrine. I'm going to use the Bible to prove the doctrine of the seventh-day Sabbath. But we agreed before that if we mention anything outside the scriptures, that's allowed as long as we're not mentioning it to prove our points. I'm not mentioning it to prove that the seventh day is the Sabbath. I'm mentioning it to prove that they're not reliable. We shouldn't use them. I'm sticking with the agreement. I'm saying don't use the church fathers. If you use them, that's on you. But they don't prove anything. Only the scriptures can prove the point here. And I think I was
Okay.
clear on the scriptures.
Photo for that plain and very clear admission that even though you quoted Saturday Sabbath among church fathers, it does not prove your case. Now, my next question is very simple, plain again, and very categorical. Let's answer me guys. Now, the topic that we have agreed, the theme is very clear and simple. Prove or resolve that Saturday Sabbath, 7th-day Saturday, Saturday, specifically Saturday, is normative for Christians according to the Bible. Now, my question is, of all the verses that you put in your presentation, have you presented the word letter by letter, literally, Saturday? Yes or no? Very categorical. Answer me yes or no, then explain in 1 minute.
Sure, yeah, I know you want me to say no because that's why in the beginning we were struggling with either using the word Saturday or 7th-day, because I know you wanted me to say Saturday because the Bible doesn't say Saturday. The Bible also doesn't say Sunday, by the way. It doesn't say Sunday anywhere in the Bible that Sunday is the Sabbath. So, excuse me, I proved that 7th-day.
Just give 1 minute, still 20 seconds. So continue.
Yeah, the Bible proves that the 7th-day, now I was very clear in my presentation, I mentioned 7th-day many times throughout every slide. 7th-day Sabbath is normative. That's what I proved. That's what you have to disprove.
So next question. So would it be again another clear admission that the word Saturday is not written in the Bible and it does not prove your case that the 7th-day Sabbath is really Saturday? Yes or no? Very categorical. Answer yes or no, and then explain in 1 minute.
No, that doesn't prove that. The answer is no, that doesn't prove that at all. You're mixing two things. You're telling me that because it doesn't say Saturday, therefore it doesn't say 7th-day. That's not true. Just because it doesn't say Saturday, it doesn't mean there isn't a 7th-day. There is a 7th-day. The word Saturday came in later. The Bible doesn't mention the word Saturday, nor does it mention the word Sunday, nor does it mention the word Tuesday or Friday, but it mentions 7th-day, and that's what I was proving. 7th-day Sabbath people.
Okay, next question, Elder Cotto. Since you admit that you have not proven Saturday because it is not found letter by letter in the Bible.
5 minutes.
Would that mean yes or no? Very categorical, plain and categorical question. That you have not proven your case of that word Saturday, specific day in the calendar, in the week, because we're talking about a specific Sabbath day. You have not proven in your presentation that Saturday is the 7th-day Sabbath of the Christians. Yes or no?
Well, I wasn't seeking to prove Saturday with that term that you want me to use. I was seeking to prove 7th-day. Now, I understand why you want to stick to that term Saturday because you think that's going to help your case. But I think everybody who's listening is well aware that when we say Saturday, we mean 7th-day Sabbath. Everybody knows that. If you want to stick to the term, the technical term Saturday, that's fine. But I think everybody is well aware that when we say Saturday, we mean 7th-day. We're not talking about Saturday. I'm not trying to prove the term Saturday. I'm trying to prove the word 7th-day Sabbath, which lands on what we call Saturday, actually Sunset Friday to Sunset Saturday. But we're talking about the 7th day, and that's what I was proving. I think I proved it pretty well.
My next question is, you quoted Isaiah chapter 66, verse 22 to 23, to prove that there is a Sabbath in the new heavens and the new earth. That is very clear in your presentation. My very plain, simple, and categorical question, Elder Cotto of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, that do you know that in the Revelation chapter 22, verse 4 to 6, there is no more day and night in the new heavens and the new earth, according to the scriptures, letter by letter? There is no more day and night, letter by letter. Do you know it? Yes or no?
Okay, so the text says that there will be a monthly gathering, right? And so if it says monthly, then we know that there is time there. Now, I don't presume to understand completely the time that's going to be there because I'm not there yet, and I want to get there, and I want you to be there. But the Bible says right there in that chapter 22, the one you're talking about, that there is monthly gatherings there. There is a monthly change. It says here in Revelation chapter 22, verse 2, in the middle of the street, it says, each tree yielding its fruit every month. And so there will be time there. There will be days there because how else do you read a month unless you have days?
Okay, next
Next
question.
question.
You have read verse 2, but let me read verse 4, and I would like to anchor my premise on this particular verse before I ask my question. In Revelation chapter 22, verse 5, it literally reads in this version or any Catholic and Protestant Bible, reads and says, "And there shall be no night there, and they need no candle, neither light of the sun. For the Lord God giveth them light, and they shall reign forever and ever." Isn't it very clear, Elder Cotto, that Revelation 22, the month there, means there is no day and night? Literally, in the King James and all Catholic and Protestant Bible. Even
No,
though month is said in Revelation chapter 22, verse 2, yet in verse 5, it is clear that the month there is not qualified by any particular day or night, according to verse 5, letter by letter. Yes or no? If answer me yes or no categorically, and
okay.
then explain
So
it.
no, you're misunderstanding here. Just because it says there's no night there doesn't mean there aren't going to be days there. For example, verse 25 in that same chapter 21, excuse me, verse 25 says, "Its gates shall not be shut all by day." That's what it says in verse 25 of chapter 21. So there will be days there. So just because it says there's no need of the sun or need of the moon, because that's the word that's used there, need. Just because it says there won't be need there and there will be no night there, doesn't mean there won't be days there. If you put yourself in the room for 2 weeks and it's dark for 2 weeks in that room, that doesn't mean the days stop. It just means it's dark all the time. And so Jesus's light will shine all the time. You won't see the night there, but that doesn't mean that the earth won't be round, that it won't keep rotating, and that the days will not keep taking place.
Next question, Elder Cotto. Let's go here deeper in
Next
this chapter.
next question, and that will be the last question.
Okay, the next question in Revelation chapter 22, verse 6, a showdown question. The word there means the literal new heavens and the new earth. The word there, not only your explanation in a room, then outside the room, if there is a day. Here, the there, here, the word here, there in verse 6 and verse 5, does it not refer, yes or no, to the new heavens and the new earth, the whole new heavens and the earth? Yes or no?
I apologize. Mr. Moderator, can he repeat that question? You do have a strong accent, so I want to understand very clearly what you're asking.
Yes, please. That's okay. That's okay. Please repeat it just to. Anyway, this is the last question. Go ahead and repeat it, Bro Alvin.
Okay, I'll repeat it. In Revelation chapter 22, verse 5 and 6, the word there refers to the place. Doesn't it refer literally to the whole new heavens and the new earth? There is no more night there. There is no more light or day there. There refers yes or no to the new heavens and the earth or no? Yes or no? Then
Okay,
explain.
so
All
no,
right. All right. The question is about the day there. The word there refers to, if it refers to the whole universe, or the
Yes,
whole place. Does it refer there the whole place or the specific place there?
okay, that refers to the New Jerusalem on the earth made new, not the whole universe. The New Jerusalem, chapter 21 mentions the New Jerusalem coming down from heaven on the new earth. And then it mentions in verse 1 of 22, "And he showed me a pure river of water of life." It's talking about a river on the new earth. There's a tree there as well, a tree of life. As you keep reading, that tree of life is a healing for the nations. And then it goes down the context, very clearly mentioning the context is the new earth and Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem. All right, and it's on the earth. The earth is round, brother, and so it'll keep rotating. There's no indication it won't. Therefore, the sun will be in its place unless it's changed. We don't know. We'll find out then. But as far as we know, unless the Bible's clear, it'll still rotate. There'll still be night and day, but it won't be night on the earth because we will have the light of the Son of God who will be amongst us at that time. And so that's why there won't be no night there because He'll be there with us. But nevertheless, it's talking about the new earth, and it does mention days on the new earth.
the moderator.
All
I
right.
think it's time already.
All right. It's 58 seconds. All right. So that ends our cross-examination. Thank you, gentlemen, for that nice cross-examination. So again, right now, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. There is a comment here for Ali Javier. He says, "Every time you do a good deed, you shine the light and a little farther into the dark." That's what Ali Javier is saying. Okay, so right now we will give 30 minutes first presentation for the negative. Brother Alvin Gitamondoc of the Roman Catholic Church. He will have 30 minutes for his first stance. Go ahead. Your time starts when you start to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Brother and Fuentes of the Bible Church, Christian Church. And then for my honorable opponent in this wonderful debate, first time in the history of the in YouTube that Catholic stand for negating the Saturday Sabbath that is preached by the Seventh Adventist Church, which is represented now by our friend Brad Edwin Cotto, Elder Cotto, the president of the Adventist Defense League of America. Now here is my first negative stand. This is not the rebuttal stand yet, but the first negative stand. So I have also here my PowerPoint presentation will be presented on the screen, and then my stand within 30 minutes. So I hope Elder Cotto will also listen well, and all the audience here, our listeners here in the Philippines and outside of the Philippines, to listen well the stand of the Roman Catholic Church. This is my first negative stand. Let me take it clear that the Catholic position should be stated very well to emphasize the difference between the stand of the Roman Catholic Church and other evangelical and other Christian sects and denominations. Also on this controversy about the Sabbath. The Catholic position is clear. Number one, that the Ten Commandments is still binding for Christians, no problem with that. Actually, Elder Cotto quotes CCC 2173, but he did not also affirm other quotations like 2089 and other quotations referring to the Sunday observance as now the fulfillment of the Sabbath, which is prophesied in the Old Testament to be a new day in the New Testament. For example, in CCC 2053, this the Catholic Church holds that the Ten Commandments is also still binding for Christians. To this first reply, Jesus adds a second. If you would be perfect, go sell what you possess and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me. CCC 2053. This reply does not do away with the first. Following Jesus Christ involves keeping the commandments. The law has not been abolished, Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. But rather, man is invited to discover it in the person of his master, which is perfect fulfillment. In the three synoptic gospels, Jesus called to the rich young man to follow him. In the obedience of a disciple and the observance of the commandments, is joined to the call to poverty and chastity. Matthew chapter 19, verse 6 to 12, 21, verse 23 to 29. The evangelical counsels are inseparable from the commandments. So the Catholic position here is clear. We have still to follow the commandments, and this includes the Sabbath law. What we have to differ with the Seventh Adventists is that the seventh-day Sabbath is Saturday, which my friend Elder Cotto have not read any one single verse in the Bible. But to the Catholic position, there is still a seventh-day Sabbath, but it is the Sunday observance that takes place over the Saturday Sabbath observance of the Jews. Now, in CCC 2072, another Catholic position which is very clear and candid states, since they express man's fundamental duties towards God and towards his neighbor, the Ten Commandments reveal in their primordial content grave obligations. They are fundamentally immutable, and they oblige always and everywhere. No one can dispense from them. The Ten Commandments are engraved by God in the human heart. So let us emphasize here that the commandments have primordial content, and we have grave obligations to follow it because they are fundamentally immutable, and they oblige us, every one of us, not only Catholics, and everywhere. No one can dispense with them. So that is very clear in the Catholic position. Again, Elder Cotto and all other Seventh-day Adventist Church members, the Roman Catholic Church have no stand that there is no more Sabbath law and there is no more specific Sabbath day. Yes, we still have the seventh-day Sabbath, but in contrast to Saturday in the calendar, it is Sunday in honor of the Lord's resurrection. That is our position. So very plain, simple. Second, that the essence of the commandment written in Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 to 10, and Deuteronomy 5, 12 to 15. Although Elder Cotto did not quote this verse, but I will quote it. It's like that the Roman Catholic Church is more faithful to the commandments of the Sabbath law because we are not ashamed to quote that verse to prove that we really have the 7th-day Sabbath in the Catholic Church. It is still binding Christians, yes, for us Catholics, and is complied with Sunday observance, which is the fulfillment of the Old Testament Sabbath. In CCV 2175, Sunday is especially distinguished from the Sabbath, which is follows chronologically every week. Now, Elder Cotto quotes 2173 in the CCC that Christ respects the holiness of the Jewish Sabbath, for them it is Saturday, but he refuses to accept CCC 175 below, that actually the CCC also affirms the Sunday observance is the fulfillment of the Sabbath, which is only a shadow in the Old Testament, and what is really the reality is in Christ, in his resurrection and his body, Colossians 2:14 to 17. So I think here there is also a double standard with Seventh-day Adventists, because they love to quote some portions of the CCC, like what they do with the church fathers, they also quote church fathers to prove and justify their point. But when it proves Sunday observance, according to the church fathers, and the CCC also proves specifically Sunday observance, they would not accept it. So there is a kind of double standard with that kind of stand with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but the Catholic Church does not do that. What the Bible clearly says, we affirm. And now we will just demonstrate this. Why we, Catholics, negate Saturday Sabbath observance or Saturday Sabbath as normative for Christians according to the Bible and references. Actually, it's only normative for the Jews and not for Christians. Now, let me finish. Sunday, specifically, take note, CCC 2175. Sunday expressly distinguished from the Sabbath, which it follows chronologically every year. For Christians, its ceremonial observance replaces that of the Sabbath. In Christ, Passover Sunday fulfills the spiritual truth of the Jewish Sabbath and announces man's eternal rest in God. For worship under the law prepared for the mystery of Christ, and what was done there prefigures some aspects of Christ. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11. Those who live according to the old order of things have come to a new hope, no longer keeping the Sabbath, but the Lord's day. Meaning in the church fathers, according to St. Ignatius of Antioch in his letter to the Magnesians, chapter 9, verse 1, it is very clear the Sabbath of the Jews is already replaced with the Lord's day. No other than Lord's day, but Sunday. But the Seventh-day Adventist Church would let it go, the church fathers, if it doesn't prove their point. Let's finish this. In which our life is blessed by Him, oh God, and by His death. It's very clear. Again, St. Ignatius of Antioch, letter to the Magnesians, chapter 9, verse 1. Again, finally, in the CCG 2176, to prove the stand of the Roman Catholic Church, because this debate is also telling the world what is really the position of the Roman Catholic Church. So we quote the competent authority, which is the Catechism of the Catholic Church. CCC 2176 states very clearly, the celebration of Sunday observes the moral commandment inscribed by nature in the human heart to render to God an outward, visible, public, and regular worship as a sign of His universal beneficence to all. Sunday worship fulfills the moral command of the Old Covenant, taking up its rhythm and spirit in the weekly celebration of the Creator and Redeemer of His people. So now, we have closed here the position of the Roman Catholic Church, that there is still the seventh-day Sabbath rest for the people of God, Hebrews 4, 9 to 11, as Elder Cotto quotes it in the scriptures in his presentation. But for the difference, it's very clear. The Seventh-day Adventists hold Saturday, which you have not heard in the presentation of Elder Cotto. But in the Catholic Church, it is very clear it is Sunday observance replacing the Sabbath. Now, the explanations would follow. With these quotations from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, from the CCC, it is very clear that the Catholic Church upholds the Ten Commandments as binding to Christians. But the big question now related to this debate is that if this is so, then why do Catholics no longer observe the Saturday Sabbath, which is the day observed by the people of God of the Old Covenant or the Jewish people? Does this not amount to a contradiction in the Catholic teaching and practice within the Church? On one hand, upholds that each of the Ten Commandments to be still binding in Christians, and yet on the other hand, she no longer practices the Saturday Sabbath observance. Answer: actually, there is no contradiction in the Church teaching and practice, and both do not contradict what is written in sacred scriptures. There will be no contradiction in the Church teaching and practice of keeping Sunday as the holy day obligation for her members and the requirements of the third commandment of the Decalogue, where God commands us to rest on the seventh day, if we maintain a very important distinction. Notice here, careful listeners, and to my worthy opponent, This point is very important, and this is crucial to our debate, because the crux of the matter is that if this distinction is not recognized, then the fundamental error goes with it, and it will not change. But when we know this distinction and accept this as truth, then the truth is clearly delineated. The distinction which I would like to point out, which I think is the key to our understanding of the third commandment, which commands us to rest on the seventh day, is this. What is the distinction? We need to distinguish between the essence of the law and what is the temporal, accidental, and ceremonial part of the law. So there are two parts of the law. We have to distinguish it. It's very clear, logically. The essential part of the law, the essence of the law. And the other thing is the temporal, accidental, and the ceremonial part of the law. I know the Seventh-day Adventist knows that there is the ceremonial part and there is the essential part also. No problem with that. The essence of the law is what the Catechism teaches in paragraph 2072 as fundamental, immutable, and they oblige always and everywhere. No one can dispense from them, and that the Ten Commandments are engraved by God in the human heart. The essence of the law is that which is immutable and cannot be dispensed with. The temporal, ceremonial part or accidental part of the law, however, is transitory. It can be changed, it can be modified, or it can altogether be dispensed with by the competent authority when it's already served its purpose. To understand the essence of the Sabbath law, it is necessary to see God's purpose in giving us this law. The purpose why God commanded his people to apportion a day of rest is what the Catechism describes in paragraph 2176, which says, the moral commandment is required by nature in the human heart to render to God an outward, visible, public, and regular worship, 2176. Thus, God embedded in man's moral nature that man should worship God not only individually and inwardly, but also collectively and outwardly together with his fellow men. In worshiping God, God is glorified in his works of creation, redemption, and sanctification, and in so doing is thereby prepared to receive God's benevolent gifts. Thus it was for the glorification of God and the sanctification of man that God gave his Sabbath commandments, which we read as we quote Exodus 28 to 10. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and is rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 to 11. Notice that when God gave this commandment, he did not specify which particular day of the week should be the seventh day. Very clear. Again, notice that in this commandment, letter by letter, literally, God himself did not specify which particular day of the week should be the seventh day. But the Seventh-day Adventist Church would assume it is Saturday, although it is not written in the law. And they make it a law, institutionalize it, dogmatize it, even in the Old Testament, that is already Saturday. They're reading the word Saturday, particular day of the week in the calendar, into that verse in Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 to 10, and other verses telling us about the Sabbath day in the Old Testament and also in the New. And that is also the fundamental error of Seventh-day Adventists. Now we quote, the meaning of the seventh day in the context of the Decalogue is that it is the day which follows after 6 consecutive days of work. This is what the Jewish Encyclopedia, an authority, says. The seventh day refers to a day which follows after 6 consecutive days, whereas the seventh day is the day of rest. No particular day of the week is specified. Jewish Encyclopedia, volume 10, page 604. Meaning we have only to count 6 working days. And after that is the rest day or the Sabbath day, or in Hebrew and Aramaic, Sabbath. It doesn't prove any day from the particularly solar day in the present day calendar, which is derived from the Roman calendar. So Saturday, Sabbath, normative for Christians, when you include Saturday, it cannot be proven in the Bible, meaning the topic that Elder Cotto of the 7th-day Adventist Church is affirming now. It can never be affirmed. It is impossible to affirm, according to the Jewish Encyclopedia. And we have to be humble to the truth, because the truth will save us. James chapter 1, verse 21. Again, the Jewish Encyclopedia, volume 10, page 604, clearly states, the seventh day refers to a day which follows after 6 consecutive working days, whereas the seventh day is the day of rest, or the Sabbath. particular day of the week is specified. So if you specify it Saturday and you dogmatize it and you institutionalize it and you say it is the law of God, it is the commandment of man, Matthew chapter 15, verse 8 to 9. These people teach their doctrines as commands of man, and their worship is in vain, Matthew chapter 15, verse 9. There are several examples of this Jewish reckoning of the ordinary numbering of days without reference to a particular day of the week. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. I quote Leviticus chapter 23, verse 36 specifically. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. Leviticus 23, 36. So the 8th day is also reckoned by numbering consecutive 7 days. And after the 7 days is the 8th day. There is no specific day that the 8th day is Sunday or the first day of the week. No. Because the Jewish reckoning of such week is only counted by numbers. And that is where the fundamental, again, error of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, putting that particular solar day, Saturday, on the Jewish reckoning of the week, 7 days. Very clear? In Leviticus 23:36 is an example. Here, the 8th day does not necessarily refer to Sunday, but the 8th day is the day which follows after 7 consecutive days. Similarly, the basic understanding is that the 7th day does not absolutely refer to Saturday, but to the day which follows after 6 consecutive days. And this is very clear. I have to accept this fact and truth. The basic understanding is that the 7th day does not absolutely refer to Saturday, because even in the scriptures, you cannot read Saturday because the apostles and even the prophets in the Old Testament did not write Saturday on that verse, every verse about the Sabbath day, simply because of this very particular reason. It only means following 6 consecutive days, and the 7th day is the rest day of the Sabbath. Here is another example. Again, quoting Leviticus 23, verse 39 to 40, the same chapter. On the 50th day, then of 7 months, when you have gathered in the produce of the land, you shall celebrate a pilgrim feast of the Lord for a whole week. The 1st and the 8th day shall be days of complete rest, meaning Sabbath. On the 1st day, you shall gather foliage from majestic trees, bunches of palms, and boughs of myrtles and of valley poplars. And then for a week you shall make merry before the Lord your God. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 39 to 40. Now, we Catholics do not, by standard apologetics purposes, do not quote this verse to prove Sunday observance. No. As according to the PowerPoint presentation of Elder Cotto, he already preempts that verse. No, we do not use it. It is not standard. It is not Catholic apologetics. Maybe it's a fake Catholic apologist. Here, the first day need not necessarily be Sunday, but falls on the 50th day of the 7th month. And the week simply refers to 7 days, and did not necessarily be from Sunday to Saturday, but could be from Monday to Sunday, in which case Sunday will be the 7th day. It depends on how you reckon the first day, if you fit it on the weekly calendar of the Roman calendar presently now. But during the time of the Moses, there is no such Roman calendar, so there is no Saturday Sabbath normative, not even for the time of Moses, not even normative for the time of the prophet, and even at the time of Christ and the apostles. Within this context, the 7th day is counted not in reference to our modern day reckoning of Sunday being the first day, Tuesday being the 2nd day, Wednesday being the 3rd day, and so on up to Saturday being the 7th day. But the 7th day is the day which follows after counting 6 consecutive days. While it is true that Saturday is the 7th day in our modern day calendar, but the 7th day commanded in the Decalogue need not necessarily be or absolutely be Saturday. However, this fundamental distinction does not also mean that each one of us can arbitrarily choose which day we should assign as the 7th day. This matter has to be determined for God's people by God's own authority through his duly appointed messenger. In order to comply with this essential requirement, God, through his servant Moses, appointed the day of the Israelite nation's liberation from the bondage of Egypt, and from henceforth observe this in a 7-day cycle as a memorial of the great event in their salvation history. It is what the Bible says. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 15, it reads, "And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence to a mighty hand, and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day." This is very also fundamental, Deuteronomy 5:15, actually verse 12 to 15. because the Jews were commanded, the people of God in the Old Testament were commanded by God to keep the Sabbath day in honor of their Independence Day from their freedom from slavery in Egypt. No, we Christians are not part of those Jewish people who come out from Egypt under Peru. So there is much uh, the trajectory is very far because the Adventist Church and other Saturday Sabbatarians would love to quote this verse in Deuteronomy 5 and Exodus chapter 20, and they're not part of the Jewish people. They are not part of those
10
who
minutes. 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Orator, who come out from Egypt from bondage and slavery. Thus, it is important to remember that the reason why the Israelites observed the day which coincided with our modern day weekly reckoning as Saturday is not because Saturday is the 7th-day of the weekly calendar, but because this was the day that the Israelites were liberated from the bondage of Egypt. That is very clear. I hope Elder Cotto would get it. Very plain and straight, very simple. It is not the Saturday of the calendar, but it is the Independence Day in which Moses, because it's very significant for the people of Israel, that they were commanded by God to come out of Egypt and they were triumphant and successful and victorious. That's why they mark it as the Sabbath. They're coming out of Egypt. It is very clear. Now, the reasons why the Saturday Sabbath observance is not now binding for Christians is very clear. I would like to advance several reasons why I believe that the ceremonial observance of the Saturday Sabbath observance of the Saturday Sabbath, observance of the Saturday Sabbath observance of the Saturday Sabbath